Legends Limited Unique Plat equips a once buff to a character, a Legends Limited obviously, that was insurmountable to the effect that it could give. You look at characters such as G4, Cell, or even Puddle Gohan, future Gohan there, where they had gained great usage after their plat equip and not having too much usage prior to. That is the greatness it once created. But now, as time has gone on, it is seemingly the case that LF plats are now just being thrown on, and more than anything, pretty gosh darn underwhelming for how the power creep is in modern day. And hopefully this can kind of get us through the originality of their peak and then their greatness to where we are now. And honestly, where we are now is pretty mediocre, and LF plats need to start picking up where their origin began to, again, where we are, since it's a pretty low bar right now. To be very specific, I am not referring to Legends Limited plats that happened for characters on their initial release, or very close to it, right? Not Majin, Vegeta, OG3, Ku, Namek, Goku, FSK, or even their Awakened. I'm referring to first-time LF plats on characters, or even if you want to include Piccolo, I guess, for a second-time plat, sure. But first-time LF plats on characters that are much more in line with a couple months to a few months later, where the unit is not having too much usage, and they could gain value, and they should gain value from their LF plat. Not initial release plats, but very close to the kind of, sort of time frame we've hit with a couple months, several months, or even a few months looking at Piccolo and others alike. Again, specifying this because it's not those other ones that were, pretty solid initial release in the early, rather late 2019, 20 era. No, it's referring to a couple months later from the release. Unit's not very relevant. Boom, this plat comes out. Boom, this is the effect. Now let's get into it. Now here, I have concocted a situation where I have 3 lists. Now, it's not going to name every single LF plat, but it's going to name a grand, majority of them. Where 3 lists are the great attempts to make the character relevant and were success, the great attempts but ultimately failures, and then the great situation where we are now of just straight out terrible attempts. Now, to go through the first one here, great attempts to make units relevant and were success. I'm not talking just a day or 2 days that these units were used. No, I'm talking like they went from this bad tier to really good and used for a really long time, if not at least bare minimum a few weeks. And what we have there is G4, Cell, and Puddle. Now, Puddle really got saved, going backwards to forward here. Puddle really got saved on his sequence of, hey, you know what? We got Beast, we got Pan, boom, 1v3 hybrids. But you can't, just straight out deny his plat didn't help. That wouldn't make much sense. Puddle was actually a decent damage dealer because his plat, he had decent, much more sustain because his plat, he had decent, much more self-supporting for more damage to be a decent damage dealer because his plat. You look at Cell. Cell, pre-plat, people were complaining that his gauge was too slow. He had to charge too long, it was too slow. Probably wasn't really like a full thing that was needed at the time, but Cell had very much more less usage to a very high usage rate post-plat. And then the most obvious one, the easiest one to even talk about, is G4. G4 was a nobody loser prior to his plat. He sucked on this release, it's just how it is. He got his plat, boom. What he became was a top 3, top 5 character for months down the line and decimated everything. That is what LF plats used to do. They used to make the unit from, you're not using them. By the way, Puddle plat was during the LF cooler meta. Obviously, he had to wait a little bit to get his usage, but that's exactly my point. The plat was a couple weeks to a month old, and then this character still had amazing usage. Again, because hybrids had that glaze setup, yes, but that's how good it was. It was so good. It literally allowed that revitalization that we were wanting for characters on their LF plats. And, well, that's what we were getting. There are some that happened in those mean times that failed, but were good attempts, and we'll talk about that. But we have 3 just very easy options there, and there probably might even be more, to be real with you. You could even coat Piccolo a little bit if, people played Proud Battle a little bit more, but nonetheless, my point being, That's exactly my point. This was a success. These were plats. You were expecting successful things because LF plats seemingly would be very good buffs and they make unit relevant because, well, their baseline for when they started coming out to be very good was G4, was Cell. Both were very close to one another on their plats. Yeah, you were expecting these to be good things. And for these three characters, these were perfect. So the units that were great attempts but ultimately failures that come to my mind, again, there might be more, but I'm just going to, no need to name everything. It's just to name a baseline foundation what we're going through here and just kind of explaining how we went from this to that in this situation, LF Platts. You look at Bardock. Bardock is a finite example of, this character's kit was just not designed for aging. That's just how it is. You look at, Cell's initial kit, to Bardock's initial kit. Cell much more had a situation of he doesn't need to be existing right now because the meta was of losing its anti-hybrid thing, and hybrids are already falling down, so he could just come back later. He gets his plat, okay, he comes back stronger later, he's going to be very good later. Bardock on initial release was mid. People were calling him mid, and honestly, he was more mid than not. He got his plat very much around the time of Puddle, and it wasn't enough. It was a very good attempt. It was one of the best plats, if not the best plat in the game for a good minute, but it wasn't good enough because the character was the flaw. It's not the plat that was the flaw. You give that plat to somebody else in this time frame and time slot of release, oh my god, they're thriving. They're probably top 3. Bardock was just a huge flaw. Didn't help that he was, obviously yellow, coolers running around, but yeah, no, it was his fault. Like, Bardock's plat is really good. Kid Buu, the thing is with him is just that he should have had a Zenkai much sooner. Kid Buu has a 30% pure blast, like literal raw blast on his plat. He has HP, the basic stuff, whatever. But he has raw blast on his plat. I wouldn't count that as, I guess you could say, the plat's fault. I don't think that would make much sense. That's 30% pure. You're looking at the hybrid equip that's like gassed up, and that is a 24% rather pure equip. Kid Buu had a 30 on regen, and PO I think it was. Yeah, no, that's not the plot equip's fault. Maybe it could have been better if it were done much more modern, but for when it was done, I mean, we had Broly, who has a very bad plot, that's like a 20% pure. Kid Buu had 10% more. Like, yeah, that's just on Kid Buu not getting any help. I mean, Kid Buu deserved help, so him just not having help, yeah, no, it didn't help very much for a situation. Even more so than that, look at Forku. It's the same exact sequence. Forku has a plat. It wasn't good enough to fix him, right? He needed Zenkai to get his fixture and kind of be that really good character that we know him as now. But Forku, he got his plat. He sucked. Forku sucked. He needed an overhaul kit. That's why Zenkai was a fixture for him. And it was a thing that people actually liked because it was done correctly. One of the best, or rather, overall just done Zenkais to exist in the entire game because it made a unit from bad to very good. That's what Platypus were meant to do as well, but I guess they kind of slowed down on that because of Zenkai makes money. Platypus don't make as much money probably, but Forku, same thing. He has a good plat. He got HP, ult damage, special move damage, damage inflicted, double pures. The plat's good, but it was a failure. The point being in this, and there'd be one more character name, but the point being that they had it before where it was much more care put in. It's like, okay, maybe this character won't return to relevancy fully, but they're giving a much more valid attempt compared to the modern day of what these equips are doing. I'm looking at, again, Bardock's equip, looking at Forku, Kid Buu's, or even Jiren here, where Jiren is getting much more defenses than you'd expect, right? He's meant to be that bulk, that soak, and then, they do a rush, boom, he gets more damage, boom, he gets stronger, boom, he gets this kind of, his prowess back, right? His prowess of being that bulky guy. It didn't fully fix him, it didn't fully make him irrelevant, but it was much more like, oh, they're really trying to get this guy back in the area of being pretty solid in that bulking department. Again, these were not 100% successes. That's why they're in this category. But you can argue very easily that if it were on any other character of each plat in a different sequence of a different, meta era or a different meta time frame for these characters, they would have been meta. They would have been enough fixture. It would have been, if Kid Buu had Zenkai a little earlier, or if Jiren had got his plat a month before. Like, these units would have had enough value to where, boom, they would be in the other category of great attempts and great successes. But these ultimately are failures. Yes, can tell you that straight out. But their attempt on their plats is what matters the most, and their attempted plats are much more frugal and valuable than the current plats, which are just failures. Now, just to name off what I feel are terrible attempts, and yeah, feel free to tell me if I'm wrong. I don't feel that these equips, though, are anywhere valid. Like, it's much easier to name a terrible attempt on a plat equip than it is a good attempt. Let me know if you feel I'm wrong. Frieza, full power Frieza. Now, the funny thing with Frieza is actually that he was already very strong. He was very, very meta relevant. He didn't need a plat. But because he was so meta relevant when he got his plat is fucking terrible. You see how they do that situation there? Broly. I already touched on Broly, where Kid Buu has 30% pure. Broly, his pure that he's getting is not for him. He literally is removed from his own pure. So he could get a 30% pure, but they say other than this character. So it's 20% pure. Then he's reliant on getting a kill for his damage. Clearly, if he had a Zenkai, yeah, this would be better, but like, that plat is just not good enough because he doesn't have a Zenkai. Kid Buu, it was much earlier in the area. They kind of argue it like, okay, this is enough. He has a lot of pure on his other equips as well. I think Kid Buu get like 61% pure blast. Like, it's a lot. But Broly, whatever he was supposed to do, he did nothing. Orange Piccolo, I'm looking at this more than anything because the modernization of it. Clearly, this is one of the more recent ones where it's like, okay, well, let me look at this and kind of analyze it to a further extent. Orange Piccolo, what he got? He got 2 slots that are only for orange. Then he got, what, double attack, or is it double defense for non-orange? Do you see how we go from, scrolling back here on the page, we go from Cell, let's say you got his, gauge, health page, his health, his offense, literally damage inflicted, and defense for his entire existence on his plat, buffed up, and then Puddle got his defenses, his damage, his health, his entire existence buffed up. Then you look at Orange Piccolo, who got orange buffed up. You can just watch the decline of what these do. Literally, they'll be on screen right here. Look at Orange Piccolo's, look at Cells. Now, you might say, but these numbers might be a little bit similar. Valid. That's genuinely a valid point. But that's exactly the issue with that point. The numbers could be as similar as they want. Namek Goku has a near, damage inflicted number, if not equal damage inflicted number of G4's plat. The issue is that we're in a more advanced era. You can't just have the higher damage inflicted or the higher defense or the higher HP and then kind of, call it a day. That's not where we are anymore. We aren't in that phase of Dragon Ball Legends. Where we are is, okay, if this unit is getting a plat and what we want them to be successful is realistically Namek Goku. Let's just give him an example. He just happened, and honestly, I wanted to play when I heard about his plat, but then I saw it and it was kind of just like sleeper, because it's not enough like modernization. This unit's not going to be relevant. He's not relevant at all right now. He never was, and well, when he was, it was like for a week only. He's not relevant. But to give an example, Namek Goku, what he would have needed as a genuine thing that isn't possible because what they've said is a precedent, but what they would have done if they cared as much as they did back then with like Cell G4 Puddle is cover null. You give this unit his ult damage buff even higher. Let's make it where he has 50% more ult damage on slot 3, and his blue card has 30 to 50% more damage on its, first time usage or etc. Similar things to that. You make it where he's hitting much harder, much faster. I know you got key on entry, and something else. What was it, card or something like that? That's cool. That's great. Issue with this character is he doesn't have much cover null. He needs a green card to get cover null. So let's make it where not maybe his entry gets cover null, but he clicks a strike card maybe once or twice throughout the match. Maybe it's cover null 5 counts, and then he's building up to that green card to get that cover null for 10 counts because his gauge is full. Do you see how there could have been things to make it better off? But no, what they did is is they give him a Band-Aid plat, which is, okay, maybe he's a little bit better now. Cool. Great. He's not meta-relevant. Again, I give a reference point to the other three characters that were very much meta-relevant and very good in the meta when they got their plat as Puddle, Cell, and G4. That's what a plat is meant to do, make you meta-relevant. I can promise you right now, Namek Goku, while he might be fun and get some usage because he just got his plat, woo, isn't relevant. You look at UI Omen plat, the one that happened prior to this. What did he do? He got a green card buff and then double defense? That's it? Again, we're in this phase where it's not just you get defenses or HP or base offenses or even just damage inflicted. Clearly it's the best thing from that list, but we're not at that phase. That's just not enough anymore. While it was enough for G4, for Cell, and for Puddle, great. We're not there though. These things have to give much more. And it's daunting, the idea that they don't. The Boo Duo. Do you see what Boo Duo's plat does? What it is at all? It could have been so much more. The expectation, it wasn't crazy. Trust me, there's never a crazy expectation from Dragon Ball Legends on anything. They just set the precedent so damn low, you can't have it. But the expectation, which again was low, was that they make the Vegeta side more bulky, so maybe he's arts power debuffing more, or he's healing more, or he gets more key on entries that stall longer, or he something to make the Vegeta side better. What did they do to improve the character? Not much. They didn't really make anything better. They kind of just overall made them a bit better off, but the Vegeta side, the issue side, they didn't fix. Namek Goku's issue was cover null. What did they not fix? Cover null. Like, it doesn't make sense. So Dragon Fist got a plat. They gave double defense on slot 2. Dragon Fist, double defense pure on slot 2. I get his third slot's pretty good, but his slot 2 is double defense pure. What the fuck? CMZ's plat is making him trying to be a bulk against very hard-hitting moves. I get it, he builds up damage when he gets hit, and, well, that's great, but he also builds up damage while doing cards, so why didn't he get card draw speed on his plat? And it's just confusing. It really is, because again, I'm just looking at this and I see G4, Cell, Puddle, and I'm like, wow, the resurgence they got, what the fuck, we need to see that again. And again, they were failed attempts, but they were at least good enough attempts with Bardock, with Forku, with Jiren, and even more. Fine, you can have failed attempts, but these aren't attempts. I'm looking at Piccolo, or Omen, or Namek. These aren't genuine attempts to make these units relevant. Piccolo's plat, it's just feature boost when he's in orange. That's it. It's just, what the hell is the point of it? It doesn't make any sense. Our overall thoughts is we need to get back to where Legends once was, because again, I was very excited to at least play the game for 1 day, 1 hour, 2 hours, and just try Namek Goku's plat, but then I saw that it is the general baseline thing that we have seen since Orange Piccolo, since the Boo Duo, and since even beyond that, but, the more modern units looking at Orange Piccolo, Boo Duo, and now Namek. It's just underwhelming to what these characters need. You are looking at this and looking what it was, and it was very clear that it is meant to make the unit relevant and very good for at least a short while, and be very, very much more needed than not. Namek Goku, are you going to run Namek Goku, or are you going to run Goku Bardock? If you have two units that you can run, and both could be very good in this current meta, which neither are, by the way, just to point out, but if you could run Goku Bardock or Namek Goku, who are you going to run? Goku Bardock. And it's not because Goku Bardock has Indestructible, though it is a very much better mechanic than Namek Goku has in any of his kit. It is because overall, Namek Goku's stuff that he got is just not good enough. So you make a plat that doesn't make the unit relevant again. It makes them better, but there's a difference between being relevant and better. You can be irrelevant and trash, or you could be relevant and good. You see the kind of moral quandary we've hit here? It's just, it's disappointing because, again, they do have a situation where they had success and, well, they had failures, and that's fine. You're allowed to do that. That's what it should be. It's testing. You're just doing things, a new thing. It's like, okay, each character is going to be tough to determine which they actually need and what's going to be enough for them. Again, Bardock, his plat looks really, really good. But the problem is they didn't actually fix his ramp up. So, well, his plat isn't very good. His Zenkai, he didn't fix his ramp up. So guess what the problem is? His ramp up still sucks. So he still sucks. It's very common sense at this rate. Goku, he was very anti-meta. So, okay, he's not going to be great right now. Gohan's still a thing. And, well, he didn't fix his main issue, which would be two things. One, he wants to take hits, so give him more HP. He has low HP. They gave him HP, but generalized, not really, high potential. Could have been like 30, 45%, or 50% even at peak. And, well, he wants cover null. He just wants easier access to cover null. Do that for him. And they didn't do really either. I mean, it just, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. Maybe they just want to sell the Zenkais and they're like, oh, here's the plat. So now this character can't get a buff for 5 years until his Zenkai happens. Well, enjoy his plat that is mediocre to a peak extent compared to the past plats that gave these units much more relevancy. I don't know what they're attempting with this. It's kind of a joke, some of these plats. Like, the recent stuff they have done with LF characters is hilarious to a false situation of hope. And honestly, it's kind of backwards because now it is Zenkai's getting much more ease of, well, okay, this is a very good Zenkai that's a 1% or even an LF. And it's like, whoa, Zenkai's again a good handle on themselves here in this, 2023, 2024 era. But then the plats got so much worse. They literally went, here, you do well on Zenkai, and you do bad on plats. We're going to go opposite way now. And that's what they've been sticking to. I don't know why, but yeah, hopefully that changes because I was looking forward to it, and now that it stinks, I'm not surprised. It's just really disappointing to see because they had such high potential in the previous years with plats, and now what do they do? I mean, they're cool, but like, it's so early for some of these characters where it's like, why does he even have one? If you're going to be this mediocre a plat, why do you even have one at this rate? Just wait till after Annie, so power creep on Goku doesn't hit him, and it's like, boom, then plat him. Logic? No, who knows, right? Who the hell knows? Love and I think. I'll see you guys in the next one.